2020 edition of the Police and Municipal Campus Building Committee. As a preliminary matter, this is Patrick Pitney, Chair. Please permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Mo DiPaolo.
Present.
Kristen Lass.
Present.
Keith Baldinger.
Present.
Will not be joining us. Kevin Anderson.
I have to send him the link. He'll be joining in just a minute.
Okay. Justine Snyder.
Present.
Patrick Collins.
Present.
Joseph Morrow.
Present.
Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Kevin Mizikar, are you with us today?
He is not joining this evening.
Angela Snell.
Present.
Hi, Angela. And Alex Martinez.
Present.
Anticipated speakers on the agenda, please respond in the affirmative. Matt Salad.
Present.
Jeff McElravy.
Present.
Neil Joyce.
Present.
Kevin Griffin.
Present.
Very good. Good afternoon. This open meeting of the Police and Municipal Campus Building Committee is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. The order, which you can find posted with agenda materials for this meeting, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely, so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will not feature public comment. For this meeting, the Police and Municipal Campus Building Committee is convening by Google Hangouts as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. We are now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I will introduce each board member or staff member who has the lead role for this particular item or guest speaker associated with this item on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will go down the line of members first and then staff members, inviting each by name to provide any comments or questions. I will then call upon members to offer a motion and then for a second. Please hold until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute and unmute your phone by pressing *6 or mute your computer when you are not speaking as to not trigger your camera feed or background noise. If members wish to engage in conversation with other members, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify yourself. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. And this meeting is now called to order. And we have the first on the agenda is we have the minutes of February 8th and February 11th, 2021. Any questions, comments, or motions pursuant to those minutes?
Mr. Chair, I move we approve the minutes.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, we have a motion and a second to approve the meeting minutes of February 8th, 2021 and February 11th, 2021. Roll call vote. Mo?
Aye.
Krista?
Aye.
Keith?
Aye.
Chief, are you here?
I am. Aye.
Very good. Welcome. Justine?
Aye.
Patrick?
Aye.
And Joe?
Aye.
And myself, aye. Thank you very much. Meeting minutes are approved. We have no bills or to pay, so that's nice. And we are here to item number 4. Hear reports, review, and act on the following matters. Hear the report from the CM at Risk Subcommittee from their February 26, 2021 meeting on their recommendation for a CM at Risk. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Chief Anderson, who I understand has a report for us.
Sure. On Friday, February 26, 2021, the CM Selection Subcommittee conducted interviews of 3 shortlisted firms. They were Commodore Builders, Daniel O'Connell, and Fontaine Brothers. Based on the evaluation criteria included in the RFP, which is a request for proposals, in addition to their overall presentation in their fee proposal, Fontaine Brothers, Inc. was selected as a top-ranked finalist. On behalf of the subcommittee, I'm requesting the town to enter into negotiations with Fontaine Brothers for construction manager services for the police station. Construction monitoring services on behalf of the town will be drafting a memorandum outlining the entire selection process.
Very good, Chief. Thank you. Fontaine Brothers, any questions or comments around that?
Mr. Chair,
Well, go ahead.
I'm, oh, I thought somebody else was talking. I'm actually happy Fontaine Brothers based on what, on the work they've done for us, to date. But I was just wondering, what made them stand out from the others? That, I mean, obviously they've done good work. I'm just curious, how the subcommittee came to the conclusion.
Sure, you want me to speak on that, Kristen, or do you want to speak on it?
No, Chief, you can definitely start. And if Neil wants to summarize for the committee as well, or if any other committee member wants to step in, more than welcome to. So Chief, please feel free.
Sure, Mo, what we did was there was about 3 or 4 different categories, and we ranked them each separately. At the end of the day, it was very, very close. Daniel O'Connell and Fontaine were very close in their presentations and their experience and their proposals. At the end of the day, the fee that Fontaine was giving us, as well as our past experience with them, kind of was the weighing factor.
Very good. Anybody else have anything they'd like to add to that?
I would just add, Mr. Pitney, based upon my experience, with the school department and the Beal School project, having, firsthand interactions with Fontaine Brothers and with other construction companies on other school projects previously, that I would say that Fontaine Brothers is an excellent recommendation and would certainly intend to vote in that manner once it's brought forward officially for our vote. So I think they've done excellent work, and they put the right resources and the right amount of resources on the job site and managed the Beal School project proactively. And I think everybody knows that project is on schedule and under budget.
Thanks, Patrick. Appreciate that. I do have a question, and maybe this is for Neil and maybe for Jeff also. Could you just talk do you have any experience working with Fontaine Brothers, and what's their experience in terms of doing police stations?
Neil, you're on mute. But Pat, while Neil's unclicking mute, we did a project with Fontaine a long time ago. It was a school in Western Mass, and I know my father has nothing but terrific things to say about them. Family-run company, willing to put their money where their mouth is if push comes to shove, and that was even the case on Chapter 149 projects. Mm-hmm. We have never done a police station or a fire station with them, and I believe their police and or fire station experience is older. It's not necessarily a newer experience.
Okay. I was just curious. I mean, I'm not surprised that they came out. We've got a little experience. We've got a lot of experience with them. I was just curious as to what your experience had been.
I don't know if Neil has anything to add beyond that. And I believe what Jeff had said, and I don't want to put words in his mouth, was that they had not yet done a project with Fontaine.
Okay.
Mr. Pitney, in terms of their professional experience, they had 3 police stations and I believe 5 fire stations on their professional resume. The one thing to keep in mind for the subcommittee, construction manager at risk has not been a popular delivery method in the public safety market. There are less than 9 projects as of the start of I believe it's 2019 on record for CM services and public safety. So we were not necessarily expecting a lot of experience from the CM firms, just a different arena, different bidding climate. So these were well experienced in our mind, and their resume in town was extremely strong.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Anybody else?
And Mr. Pitney,
Yes.
Tecton has not worked with either of the three finalists that we were interviewed. Although I've known of Fontaine, they've bid on projects, many of my projects over the years. We've not worked together as of yet, but the same is true of Commodore and Daniel
Okay.
O'Connell. So.
All right, very good. Anybody else have any questions? No? Okay, well, we have a recommendation on Fontaine Brothers. Do we have a motion?
Pat, I'll make the motion, but what's the form that it has to be in?
That's a good question. I would go based on the agenda. It says we're voting to award a contract to the recommended CM at risk firm, which would be Fontaine Brothers.
And do we
Neil,
also
what do you think-
authorize the manager to sign the contract, or is that a separate motion?
That appears to be, Kristen, I'll defer to you on that, but that appeared to me to be a separate motion.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is a separate motion.
I
Okay.
think rather than vote to award a contract, I think it should probably be that we can enter negotiations to award a contract, right, Neil?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So is the motion that the building committee entered negotiations to for a contract with Fontaine Brothers as construction manager at risk?
I would also add to
Pat,
that
you want it
motion.
to be the town manager. Sorry, Kristen.
What?
Kristen, go ahead.
I would also just add to accept the recommendation of the subcommittee.
Okay. Fine.
All right.
Okay. And what's I'm sorry, what's the rest of it? The recommendation of the subcommittee to enter into negotiations with Fontaine Brothers? Is that the motion?
For
Sorry.
construction manager at risk services for the police station project.
Okay, so moved.
Yeah, I like that.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, now let's see if I can paraphrase this properly. So we have a motion and a second to accept the recommendation of the subcommittee to enter into negotiations with Fontaine Brothers for a contract as the construction manager at risk for the police building project. Have we got that? Okay. Roll call vote. Mo?
Aye.
Kristen?
Aye.
Keith?
Aye.
Chief Anderson?
Aye.
Justine?
Aye.
Patrick?
Aye.
Joe?
Aye.
And myself, aye. So that is 8-0, unanimous to enter into negotiations with Fontaine Brothers. Thank you very much. Which moves us on to our next item, which is review and act to authorize the town manager to sign a construction manager at risk contract. Any discussion around that, or do we have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the board authorize the town manager to sign a contract for construction manager at risk with Fontaine Brothers.
Very good. Do we have a second?
I second that.
Thank you. So we have a motion and a second to authorize the town manager to sign a construction manager at-risk contract with Fontaine Brothers. I guess that would be upon the conclusion of all negotiations.
Yep.
So roll call vote. Mo?
Aye.
Kristen?
Aye.
Keith,
Aye.
Chief,
Aye.
Justine,
Aye.
Patrick,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
and myself, aye. Again, 8-0. Thank you, everybody. Well, that was quick and easy. Thank you all. Thank you for all your work from the subcommittee. I appreciate it. It certainly makes our job easier when we get to this point in the meeting, and looking forward to seeing how the negotiations go, but I'm sure they will go very well indeed. So I think that's a big step, and certainly going to help us move forward. So thank you again, everybody, and the work of the subcommittee. And that brings us to item D, part 4, item D. We have a report from the owner's project manager. Neil?
Yep. So in terms of our overall progress, our emphasis and focus over the last 2 weeks has been heavily into the CM selection process in the interviews. Those went exceedingly well. We were very pleased with the results of the interviews, as well as the effort put forth by the subcommittee in listening and evaluating the shortlisted candidates. Over the forthcoming week, we'll be finalizing, hopefully, the contract with Fontaine and beginning the pre-construction services, which really right out of the gate should be a design development cost estimate moving towards the middle of the end of March.
Okay, thanks, Neil. Neil, just a quick question. In terms of the presentation that Fontaine Brothers gave to you, the fee that they, is that public? Is that a matter of public information, or is that held until the negotiations and the contract are signed?
I think it makes sense, Mr. Pitney, to hold it until we negotiate the contract.
All right, I just didn't know how firm that was. I wasn't sure what the process was around that.
All subject to negotiation.
Very good. Thank you very much. Anything else? Any other questions? No, it's quiet out there. Nobody wants to talk today. That's okay. I guess that brings us to other business, item 5. Anybody have anything?
I don't know if the committee wants just a general update from Tecton, or if they just want to decide on the subcommittee information and we set another meeting to talk about the progress of the design.
Do we have anything on any other progress since the selectmen's meeting last week?
The only thing that I could update the committee on is I do have a revised site plan with some changes that came out of a working group meeting last week. If you'd like me, I can share my screen now and show you what we're looking at.
Sure, that'd be great.
Everybody almost got out of here early.
That's my fault, Matt, for bringing up the subject.
I'll always have something to talk about. So this is now the site plan's out of my hands and with the civil engineers, so they changed the graphics up from us. So this is the latest site plan, fresh off the press. I actually got this about a half an hour ago. A few things that came out of last week's meeting. One is that we were showing a lot of the landscape features of this grove area and picnic tables and things like that right here, right in front of the police station. One thing we had talked about is that maybe that didn't quite make sense right in front of the station here, because there'd be a lot of traffic leaving the station of civilians, detainees going to pick up the bus down here on the street and things like that. And maybe it didn't make sense to put a larger park area here where all those different groups would be sort of commingling. And then we also talked about the importance of the Veterans Memorial that's here along the existing drive. And we had gone back and forth with, do we relocate it? Do we leave it? You know, how do we incorporate that into the landscape? And so one thing we thought might be nice is to give it a little bit more prominence here on the green and leave it and build upon it and make it sort of part of this whole landscape front as we go from this more wooded area here and go into more of the cleared out sort of sacred acre in front of the town hall, and also create a buffer between the more heavily landscaped areas and this open green space. And so we sort of completed what's this sort of quarter circle here and rounded it out to the street to give more of a node to the memorial, more of a place in the landscape. And then brought in some of the circulation paths from town hall around to the police station, and are allowing those to connect back down to the pedestrian way along Maple Avenue. So everything sort of is starting to flow into the campus itself off the street and really play into some of that pedestrian traffic that comes down here. And then instead of having the sort of park space grove area here, we actually moved it up into this area so that it's co-located between the memorial, the police station, and the town hall, so that it not only becomes a community asset, but something that all of the employees and staff on the campus can use with some nice shading and things like that. So this starts to become like a really nice landscape feature that starts to tie the whole campus together and have it less sort of buildings in the landscape, but things that are all connected. Utilitarian items that we talked about is organizing some more of the snow storage, moving some of this back from the tree buffer so that it is more easily accessed by plows, working through some of the, what's island versus what's striped in the pavement as well. We've also located the radio tower right now. So we wanted to bring it was a desire to bring it close to the building so that we weren't running underground conduit for the communications going to the tower. That way it's above ground, it's accessible, it's serviceable if anything was to happen to it. So we're going to run it above ground, and those are really, really thick cables, those communication cables. So they make really wide sweeps underground as well. So we want sort of a straight shot into the communications equipment room, which is right here. So basically it'll run above the roof here and drop right down into the comm equipment room. So it'll be most cost-effective solution and also the easiest to service down the road in the future. So that'll have a minimal impact as well. But from there, it's just sort of developing, the parking and the parking canopy and adding a little bit more detail to this. So I think we're getting closer to the right track. The folks in the working group last Thursday that saw this for the first time haven't seen this rendition of it. So I'd like to get any thoughts or comments, or take some time to digest it. I'll certainly send this out, Alex, after this meeting as well for distribution. But I'm seeing this about as fresh as all you are. So I'm happy with where we've come from last week, certainly.
Sure. Any initial reactions or comments?
Pat, can I?
Sure. Go ahead, Mo.
Matt, I like it a lot. I think you're right. It's evolved quite a bit. It looks like it works really well. But I have two questions. The trees, the dense trees that it looks like they're probably the existing trees that are there, the heavily wooded. Is that going to be just thinned out and cleaned up? So okay. And my second question is I don't know why, but I was looking at the site plan past week, and it appears as though there's only one exit in and out for the police vehicles. I guess my question is, should there be something that gives them an outlet if they need to get out, something happens and that's blocked, whatever it could be?
That's a good point, Mo. We do typically like to get 2 access out for the police staff. It's not always necessary, but I think one part of this project that we've been discussing is sort of possibly reworking some of the fields up here.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's maybe an opportunity to have something that connects there as an emergency means of vehicular egress out of the site. The problem is we're sort of pigeonholed over here because of the wetlands. We can't really get a crossing in here.
Okay.
To access the rest of it. So it's kind of, we're kind of it's a big site with a lot of room to develop, but we're also sort of, it is sort of constrained in some respects.
Okay.
But I think that's a really good point.
If you could do it, as long as I get another way to get out, I think it would be a good idea, but it sounds like you're thinking about it. So great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mo. Good point. I had actually the same question on the tree area. They look kind of crowded in there, but I like having some of it up there because it provides another barrier to the building and helps protect it. So, but I like the overall design. Matt, I have a question that came out of last week's Board of Selectmen meeting, and this is kind of stream of consciousness, but it had been mentioned that the department is starting to buy hybrid vehicles.
Mhm.
And I was just curious as to where those are going to be charged and refueled. Will that be in the garage area, or?
We're working through that right now. We're going through some, the engineers are looking into that and coming up with some suggestions on quantity of charging stations and locations, but it's part of the plan to have charging stations both in the police side and in the public side.
Okay, because I hadn't heard any mention of that at previous meetings, so it just came to my head.
Yeah, and where we're not providing them off the bat, we're also going to provision additional conduits in stubs for future as well. So,
Okay. All right.
say we give you 3 and 3, public and private, as part of the project, we can have as many as you need to, especially under the parking canopy. We're going to have spare conduits for solar. We're going to have conduits out there for power and out to the canopy as well for vacuuming cars and stuff like that. So we can have that whole area under there provisioned for future charging stations.
And Chief, with that, because I'm not familiar with hybrid vehicles, do those run for an entire shift, or do you have to take them offline in between for different shifts? How does that work? Those vehicles.
The hybrid vehicles we have right now is just a vehicle that gets better gas mileage. Really, they don't plug in, if that's what you're thinking.
Okay, yeah, it was actually, yeah.
Yeah, and they're not truly they're not truly electric. They're hybrid.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
They're hybrid SUVs.
All right.
There are some departments across the country that have 1 or 2 fully electric cruisers right now. They're not cheap, so there's not many yet, but I'd say in 10 to 20 years, it's probably going to become more commonplace.
Right, well, that's kind of what I figured. So planning for the future, it makes sense to have plenty of areas to charge.
Yeah.
No, I definitely agree.
Thank you. Anybody else have anything? I'm getting quiet out there. All right, very good. Well, thanks for the update, Matt. I appreciate it. And so where are we for our next meeting? What kind of time frame do we need before we need to meet again? Neil, Matt, Kristen?
From our side, it would probably be good in a month to give a progress update on design development. We'll be soliciting our design development estimate right around a month from now. And then, so we would follow up shortly thereafter with the second building committee from now with that estimate in hand, ready to proceed into construction documents.
Matt, could you also give the committee an update on when you plan to submit for permitting with Planning Board and Conservation Commission? Because I think it's important for this committee to be on board with those submissions and to be able to advocate for them if they wish at those meetings.
Sure.
Let me pull up the PowerPoint because I don't have those off the top of my head, but that PowerPoint does.
Matt or Jeff, I'll just offer one other thing. If we don't meet again between now and the first week in April, that'll be the next opportunity we have to present invoices to the project. I just want, we're okay with that from our perspective. I just want to make sure that you are as well.
If we choose to wait that long, that's fine.
As far as permitting, wetlands, we're planning for an informal meeting with Concom on the 16th of this month. We are submitting our notice of intent on the 31st of March. That gets us in the queue for April 20th for a formal hearing with Concom. We are scheduling the site walk with the Conservation Commission agent on April 16th. So our first formal hearing is April 20th, follow up on May 18th. And then if needed, the next one is June 15th, but we're hoping to have approval by May 18th. Planning board, we met last week with the town engineer. We are planning to submit our site plan modification application on April 13th. That gets us in the queue for May 6th and subsequent meeting on June 3rd, which we would seek approval at that date. If we needed to make additional adjustments, July 1st is the next available. Mass DOT access permit for the curb cuts. We're submitting the application on March 26th. They have a 30 to 45 day review period, which puts us to May 10th. We plan on responding to any comments of theirs May 28th and are scheduled for a tentative approval date of June 3rd. So all those gets us right into the assumed site package early release. This slide is in the packet that was sent for the joint meeting last week, but I'll send this slide out as well with the site plan, Alex.
That'd be great. Matt, thank you. I tried to get all those dates, but I don't think I captured them all. So.
At the meeting last week, I didn't go over them. If you remember, I breezed past it because there were too many dates.
Yep. All right. Kristen, thank you for that suggestion. Good to know. So with that, what I'm looking at is we've got the 4 weeks from today would be March 29th. That would be, or we can go to April 5th. Again, if the invoices are a concern, I'm very comfortable with the 29th.
Isn't it the 3rd? No.
Does that work for everybody? Yeah. Okay, Alex, can we set that up for the 29th? That good, Alex? Did you get that?
Yes.
Okay, all right, great. Does anybody have anything else? Okay, then we'll plan on seeing everybody on March 29th. Thank you for everybody. Good work today, and I think we made a lot of progress. So,
Pat, motion to adjourn?
Thank you, Mo. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I second.
All right, thank you. Mo?
Aye.
Kristen?
Aye.
Keith? Chief?
Aye.
Justine?
Aye.
Patrick?
Aye.
Joe?
Aye.
And myself, aye. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Good night.